What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Stock Hustle channel with your boy William. Today is Sunday, November 7th. However, you might be watching this video on Monday, November the 8th. But as always, guys, anything that is discussed on the channel is not financial advice. I'm simply providing people financial education they can simply use to know or understand. They don't have to slave in a 9 to 5 if they don't wish to. They could easily hustle 24/7 in the market and be as profitable or still accomplish all those financial goals and aspirations they may have for each other, right? You're always going to get whatever you put in. Just remember that. But let's get into it. So as you guys can see from the top left corner, the ticker for today is going to be WISH, or otherwise known as Wish. Some of you may know Wish from the Lakers partnership that they had a year and a half ago, where their company name was literally tattooed all over the Lakers jerseys. Other of you may know this company as an e-commerce play, essentially like think of it like a more affordable Amazon, right? However, it does come with some downfalls, being the affordable Amazon, right? One of their biggest knocks was that all their products came out of China, which were cheaply made, and number two, shipping timelines were horrendous, right? However, as we go into it, you'll see that has improved, or I sense it has improved, and the earnings are actually going to show us that because we do have earnings coming up this week, I believe on the 10th. On the 10th after market close, so keep that in mind. But looking at the chart, first and foremost note, this company did go public essentially December 16th of 2020. From the onset, there was a lot of hype behind this play. It quickly shot up to the 30s, actually peaking out at 32.77 the day AMC and GME both squeezed. This did peak as well. However, after that, as you guys can see, has had its rundowns, missing 3 of the last earnings. Every miss, following the earnings miss, you see another rundown, right? Leading up to the middle or early of the summer, they had another miss. They peaked out at the bottom. They thought they peaked out at the bottom, had this little run up in June, July, which is kind of funny because this was their slowest sales month from their financials. Before leading up to the next earnings and also missing, this was the closest margin. They only missed by 4 cents, leading up to earnings coming up now, right? As of today, they are trading in this lower channel down here, essentially at the 523 being support, from 5 to 10 being the next channel up, right? So keep that in mind. The MACD is showing us in a buying period, as you guys do see. The green and the red line have converged, trying to essentially consolidate the price. That's why you see them sticking close together. And the RSI is showing under neutral at 41.8, pointing downward. And then you see the accumulation distribution line at the bottom does have a little peak to the top side, leading up to earnings, which again should tell you or can tell you or explain to you that essentially there is anticipation to earnings, right? Specifically, that's kind of the basics of the chart. Nothing major. If you're looking at the volume profile on the back end, you may be wondering what are all those gray bars and stuff. So the 2 green lines that you see here is the concentration of volume. This is 70% of the volume concentrated between both green lines. The red line is the point of control, right? That is where the highest concentration of volume is at, right? Always important to remember with the volume profile when you're analyzing it, the point of control acts like a gravitational pull, right? If you're trading above it, it tends to pull the price down. If you're trading below it, it tends to pull the price up to it, right? To stick on it, just kind of like you see here from August 13th essentially through September 13th. So for this 30-day period here, it was literally stuck on the point of control. Always important to remember where your ticker is, either above it or below it, because it will play a factor in what the price will or can do. But going deeper into it, Wish does have a website. It does have an investor section you can go in and look at. It does give you some information from 2020, nothing as of current. Couldn't find a current article essentially giving current data or to offset this information, but 2.5 billion in revenue growth, 34% year over year, 107 monthly average users, right? And cash equivalents, 2 billion, right? These numbers I'm sure have changed since then because obviously we have a whole year behind us now, essentially almost behind us, leading up to the holiday season coming in November and December. Wish, this is an e-commerce play. I mean, shopping, people tend to do a lot of shopping in these last quarter of the year leading up to the holidays, so just keep that in mind as well. One of the downfalls that I did mention were shipping times and products coming out of China. Looks like this company did take note because obviously they pay attention to the reviews. In the last year, you see 128,000 reviews. I did take it a step further to break it down, right? Because essentially you have 74% positive, 26% negative. If you do that math right, 1 out of 4 is not happy, 3 out of 4 are happy. But when you're going deeper into it, especially when an e-commerce play, when it has such negative connotation around shipping and products, obviously we can see from when it started, it got positive reviews, very little low. But then you see this downfall in the positive reviews, right? Leading up to June and July, the slowest sales months that they had. When they released an article saying that they were going to correct that or try to correct that, and then what do you see directly after it? August more positive than negative, September being the highest, October still extremely high, second highest of the year, not as high as September, but it is still high. And then November, we're only a couple days into November, so it'll be interesting to see how they fare in November and December. For all those people interested in a long-term play, this is something you might want to set how you're going to formulate your opinion on, because again, if a company is selling products to its consumers, you want to make sure that those consumers are happy with what they are buying. But I think you guys kind of get the point there. Going into some smart money reviews, always Nasdaq. As you see, they have a hold rating on it. You have 5 firms reviewing it. Their consensus is that $4 is the low. We're already sitting at $4.93, so we're at the low. The average is $8.61, so that's a double up. And their high is 19, which means that's essentially close to a 5x on your money, or a 4x, excuse me, if we get the best case scenario for Wish, right? Going into Marketbeat, that I always like to show you guys as well, they have a hold rating on it as well. Their consensus is a low of 4, which actually matches Nasdaq, so we're already there. Their average price though is 14, which would tell you that's a 3x on your money, and their extreme high is 28, close to a 10x on your money if their targets were to hit. Again, you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. Don't treat any of it as fact. Again, please do your own research and due diligence. This is just what the supposed smart money is telling us, right? Looking into who is holding what, you do see a large positions established in Wish for institutional ownership, 1.97 billion in the first quarter that it launched, or December 2020. You see first quarter 2021, 1.3 billion or 1.13 billion added, only 50 million sold. Quarter 2, 315 million versus 204 million sold. Right, and then quarter 3, we only have 4.3 million bought, only 1.88 million sold. What is the takeaway from this? Way more institutions have bought and held versus the ones that have sold, right? Even if you added all the sales together, it doesn't surpass Q1 2021, right? Keep that in the back of your mind. It doesn't even surpass 1 billion, to be honest, right? So more people have bought and held than those that have sold. So when we're looking at who's holding, right, and who's holding the largest stake, one of the giants, Vanguard, is in here. You see BlackRock is in here. You see a lot of companies that are in here, right? No Rentech, right? As you guys all know, I look for Renaissance Technologies always being involved in the play. They are not and do not have a position currently established on Wish. But the other takeaway too is take a look at the people who are holding large positions, what they've done with their position. Increase 545%, increase 9%, increase 76%, right? Increase 120%, 165, 36, 133, right? So that should tell you that these institutions also believe that the price that it is currently at is at a low, which potentially has higher upside, right? When you're waging risk versus reward, the risk is relatively low when the reward is relatively high, right? Or in comparison. Otherwise, you would see these numbers inverse, right? Or the opposite of this, right? Short interest, Wish does have a high short interest position, $334 million short, right? When you're looking at the percentage of the float, that's 17.76% short, which, as we've seen from AMC and GME, anything at 10 is high, so anything at 20 is extremely high. We are relatively at that number. Just something to consider when you're wanting to know, if you're wanting to know who is short, right? Go to shorts current. Susquehanna International, Group 1, Simplex, and Shit in a Box Advisors. As you see, all have increased their position in some way, shape, or form. Simplex being the highest at 130,000% increase of short position. As I always like to show you guys, I always like to go into unusual whales, especially when it's the ticker that I found. When it's a ticker that's recommended to me, one of the strategies I take, I'll go into the whale alerts, type in the ticker, and just see what kind of alerts they've recently been getting, especially if it's not something I'm really familiar with. Because again, I want to know what whales are thinking, or the bigger money is thinking, essentially, right? So you see some alerts from the 21st, 20th, 14th, right? But what are they alerting, right? Well, you have a couple calls, a couple puts, a couple bullish puts, right? And then a couple bearish puts, right? So something to consider as well. When you look at the flow specifically, $25,000 premium, with excluded deep in the money and out of the money only. So we want to get some speculation in here. What do we see specifically for 11/12, which is the next expiration date for Wish? You see that it is bearish over bullish, and you see the predominant strikes are $5, $7, and $10, right? Now, when you take away the out of the money and in the money, right, and just leave it flow with just $25,000 premium, go back, what do we see? Again, the 11/12 is bearish over bullish, and the strikes that stand out, again, the 5 does stand out, and also the 12, right? So another thing you can always look at when you're looking at unusual whales that I like to look at, on this top or the second row on the left side, or on the right side, excuse me, it'll tell you bullish premium, right, with the bull, and bearish premium, right? Anytime you see that this bullish premium is extremely high, what all that should tell you is that there have been bullish calls or bullish puts on this ticker, right? When this number is relatively high, then that should tell you bearish options have been purchased on a ticker, right? Just something to quickly give you a consensus in case you don't want to do the chart breakdown or look at some of the specific charts or try to look at this flow because it gets a little bit overwhelming with all the information that it's giving you. That's just a quicker way for you to be able to interpret how a ticker flow is looking, right? But most interesting probably is the options chain. When I went looking at the options chain specifically because I wanted to get a live up-to-date look, right? You see that 108,000 calls were bought, 26,000 puts, right? Now consider what we just saw in unusual whales, right? They're essentially neck and neck when it comes to premiums, right? So what's going to be something you could look for, right? Something unusual, right? Something unusual whales usually shows us is spikes in volume, right? Well, when you look at the actual breakdown of the week on an options chain, take a look at these spikes. 10,000 over 9,000 open interest. 9,000 over 3,000 open interest, right? 5,000 over 2,000 open interest. These are relatively high spikes in volume on this options chain, and look at the tickers that they're spiking at. The 5, which we saw in unusual whales, that's a verification. The 6.5 we also saw, or excuse me, the 6 we also saw in unusual whales. And then the 10, right? These are the 3 strikes that unusual whales was alerting us specifically that had the highest amount of concentration of money on those specific tickers, right? So just in case for some of you that may be skeptical of the information unusual whales provides you, I guarantee you it's spot on every single time. I fully trust all the information they provide me. It's helped me make sound decisions and investments that I have. So just a caveat on there, right? When we're looking at the puts, nothing is even close to relatively in strength or in relative strength compared to the calls. Calls definitely heavily outweigh the puts, especially for the November 12th expiration date. Full transparency, I don't have a position either long or option in Wish. If I were a buyer into an option, I would specifically probably target this $5 with a 0.53 delta. You could buy this option anywhere from $42 to $44. Just slap the ask, pay the $44. And you would be taking advantage of this 0.53 delta, giving yourself a 53% chance of being profitable. Other than that, the 450 stands out. Again, pretty affordable. $66, $69. And again, you're giving yourself a 71% chance of being profitable. That's for my options players out there. Again, full transparency, I do not have a position in Wish. However, looking at the chart, being that we are on the lower side of the volume guide, point of control being above it, I do see a potential run up at least to this point of control, if not a little higher, depending on if these earnings reporting is positive or has a solid beat that you see it becoming profitable. This does have the potential to push to the top side, as you guys did see. There is a lot of institutional ownership in this play, which should lead you to believe long term there is definitely some opportunity in this play. But as always, guys, I think you get the point. If for any reason you have any questions, don't forget you can always leave me a comment and I'll get to you as fast as I can. Or as always, you can hit me up on IG and Twitter. And until then, guys, I'll catch you in the next one.